Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I will bring you the tea. Welcome to Chronicle Speaks.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Look at you.
Here we are, finally at Diddy trial day number 26. Baby, when I found out we had a 2-day break,
You can't tell me nothing.
listening to some of these stories had me like,
Truth is, I'm tired.
it's been a while, but we've made it. So first, let's review day number 25. So day 25 of Diddy's federal trial picked up with serious tension in the courtroom. Judge Arun Subramanian reprimanded both sides over a leak to the press about a sealed proceeding, saying someone flagrantly violated court orders. He warned that he'd seize phones and even hold people in contempt if this happened again. So this is the first and final warning. The day's main witness was Special Agent Delicia Penland, who continued walking the jury through travel and expense records allegedly showing Diddy-funded escort-driven freak-offs with corporate cards. She tied these records to Cassie Ventura and other participants in multiple hotels. Now, a key moment came when Brendan Paul, Diddy's alleged DRUG mule, was subpoenaed and immediately pleaded the fifth. The judge granted him immunity, but he still did not testify. Not as of yet. He will testify today. Now, the defense then began aggressively cross-examining Agent Penland, highlighting texts between Cassie and Diddy that appeared more romantic and sexually explicit. Now, they tried to show that Cassie was an active participant in the freak-offs, sometimes initiating them or sending affectionate messages. Defense attorney Tini Garagos repeatedly pointed out how many of these messages weren't included in the prosecution's charts. Now, the jury also viewed several explicit freak-off videos, all recovered from a profile linked to Cassie's device under the name Frank Black. Both sides wrapped the day with contrasting narratives, the prosecution leaning on patterns of control, coordination, and exploitation, and the defense pushing the idea of a messy, consensual relationship. So the prosecution was looking forward to having their last witness come to the stand today. However, one of the jurors had vertigo on Wednesday. Thursday, we had Juneteenth, so things are a little bit behind schedule, but I'm sure they'll catch back up. Now, let's go ahead and jump into day number 26, but before we do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any news regarding this case and so much more. Now let's get back into it. So I want to briefly go over the documents that were recently added. So the judge is ordering that the government must prepare a laptop with only the admitted electronic evidence, no extra files or visual aids. It has to be shared with the defense by Monday, June 23rd, 2025. Before closing arguments, both sides must confirm that the laptop includes all and only the admitted electronic exhibits. Also, as far as physical evidence, by the same deadline before closing arguments, the government must gather all admitted physical evidence and tell the defense what's included. Any physical evidence that isn't illegal, non-contraband, will go to the jury room if they ask. Contraband such as DRUGs and weapons will stay in the courtroom and will be shown there if the jury wants to see it. Now, the exhibit list. Both sides must work together to create a list of all admitted exhibits with clear descriptions. This list will help the jury during deliberation. Now, the transcript redactions. If the jury wants to read parts of the trial transcript during deliberation, both sides need to agree on what parts can or can't be shown for legal or privacy reasons. They should prioritize transcripts of witnesses most likely to be requested and be ready to quickly respond to any jury requests for others during deliberation. In short, this order ensures the jury has only the evidence they're legally allowed to see, with no extras or confusion, and that everything is clearly organized and ready to go once deliberations start. Now, the next document that was uploaded is the government's response to jury instructions proposed by Diddy's defense team. The defense wanted certain ideas presented to the jury before deliberation, and the prosecution is objecting to several of the items. Now, as far as the immunized witnesses, defense claims that these witnesses might lie to protect themselves, and the government says that's false. They only keep immunity if they testify truthfully. Next, we have investigative techniques. Defense wants the jury to question why some methods weren't used. The government argues that's irrelevant. Jurors should focus on the evidence presented. Next, we have voluntary intoxication. Defense suggests Diddy may not have had intent due to being intoxicated. Government says there's no proof he was intoxicated for that to matter, and the proposed language is misleading. Then we have the conversation of bulk cash. Defense says having lots of cash isn't illegal. Government agrees but says it still can suggest criminal activity depending on the context. Next, we have RICO statutes of limitation. Defense says the government must prove Diddy was in the conspiracy after September 2019. Government says once conspiracy is proven, Diddy must prove he left it, and just getting quiet isn't good enough. So basically, they're saying that it doesn't just end that way. You have to inform other members of the conspiracy directly, or you have to take some clear action to cut ties from the conspiracy. So the government is basically saying just because some of these acts happened before 2019, Diddy is not in the clear. So before the jury is in, prosecutor says, "Your Honor, may I place a binder of documents on the witness stand?" Judge says yes. All rise. The jurors are now entering. The government may call its next witness, says the judge. First, Ms. Garagos and I will introduce some exhibits, says prosecutors. Garagos says all under seal except for one. Judge says admitted. Prosecutor Smizer says the government calls Brendan Paul, and Brendan takes the stand. Prosecutor says, "Do you recognize this person?" Tuxedo photo shown. Yes, Sean Combs. I worked for him until I was arrested at a Florida airport for possession of cocaine in my personal assistant bag. Why was it there? I was sweeping Mr. Combs' room.
When he gets on the stand, he's going to tell what drugs he brought to Diddy. He's going to tell what drugs he was given, how much money he was given.
Brendan walked in with his Back to the Future glasses ready to tell it all. So, Mr. Paul, how did you come to work for Mr. Combs? Through Revolt, El Maroon. He told me, get in and get out. If I have a girlfriend, break up with her. You'll never see her. You're never going to see your family. He said that he understood Maroon was telling him that it was going to be a really tumultuous job that required all of his attention. Did you interview? Yes, late October 2022 at 200 Mapleton Drive. How were you greeted there? My ID was scanned and I had to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. Frankie Santella and Christina Corum was there as well. We call her KK. Did they hire you? Yes, I would pack a lot of joints in the garage, marijuana. When did you meet Mr. Combs? KK came to the garage and told me to come to a listening party in the backyard and take notes. What was KK's role? Chief of staff. She helped out with the family. Did KK use Mr. Combs' phone? Yes. How many assistants did Mr. Combs have? At first 5, then 4, then 2. According to Mr. Paul, he said he divided assistant duties with Combs' other personal assistants. Now, he testified that he helped handle Combs' travel logistics and packing and helped Mr. Combs with his fitness workout, being that he used to play basketball. He did meal plans and music-related needs. Given my college basketball background, I helped with Mr. Combs' workout. What was your salary? Started at $75,000 a year, then $100,000. I got paid bi-weekly by Combs' enterprise. Who is this? Jonathan Perez. And this? Butler Frank Rodriguez. What did Mr. Combs' butler do? Stand next to Puff, giving him water, chapstick, whatever he needed. Did you have group chats with KK? Turn to the binder and flip through it. Who is this? Fahim, we called him Fa, F-A-H. Now, Paul testified that he worked typically 80 to 100 hours a week, and he would work between 4 and 6 days, but he was always on call. He said he traveled frequently for work. He flew with Combs on his private jet maybe 3 or 4 times, but he usually traveled separately, so when you were called in, everything was seamless, and he had everything he needed. Paul said sometimes other employees like stylists and photographers would travel early with him as well. When he traveled for work, Paul and Combs' travel manager would book his travel. Paul said the longest time period he worked without sleep was when he was in New York releasing Combs' latest album. Paul stayed awake for about 3 days, although he took some naps in between. He said, I was young, so I was able to handle it. Where did you live? In an Airbnb in LA and Miami. Now, where did Miss Christina Corum live? In an apartment 4 minutes from South Mapleton in Miami and Two Star Island. Did you accompany Mr. Combs to paid club appearances? Yes, he would ask for $150,000 and they'd have to sell things for him. What did you do to stay awake? Prescription Adderall and sometimes cocaine. What was your job? To make sure Mr. Combs was always happy, he'd say, I don't take no for an answer. He told us to move like SEAL Team 6. Did Mr. Combs fire you? Yes, for forgetting his Lululemon fanny pack when he went on a walk. He said, I don't want to see your face anymore. Tell KK you are fired. What did you do? Bought a Lululemon fanny pack, got it in, stayed low. Did you ever complain to HR? No, that wasn't a thing. Why not? HR even forgot to pull my federal taxes my first 8 months. You just go to Mr. Combs. Did Mr. Combs use DRUGS? Yes, ecstasy, cocaine, and more. What is in this photo? My hand with ecstasy and Tusi, pink cocaine. Why did you take the photo? To ask staff what to do with it after I found it. I was told to put it in his bag. Did you buy marijuana for him? Yes. From whom? Philip Pines, Puff Light Sunset Sherbert. Who were the other DRUGS dealers Mr. Combs used? One Stop, Guido, Baby Girl, and I think it's spelled OEI. Who is this? Funny smiles on his face in the photo. Is this your chat with Baby Girl? What's happening? Jonathan Perez is introducing me to Baby Girl. She asked me, is it for you or Puff? I replied, Puff, but tell anyone it's for me. Why? Puff is high profile, so we use aliases. Did Mr. Combs use Cialis? Yes, we put it in his nightstand. I know Puff is looking at him like,
shut up.
Your message to Love red phone. What does it mean? I called Puff Love. His red phone was personal. The business phone was yellow. So what did he text you? Zans. And how did you pay for the DRUGS? Cash, from the Gucci bag or security, usually Fahim. In this text, what is flowers? Marijuana. Did you also call it tree? Yes. Here, Fahim tells me I'll get paid once Duke comes on shift. Did Mr. Combs have you take DRUGS? Yes, to test his Tusi. Did you want to take it? I wanted to prove my loyalty. What were Wild King nights? Mr. Combs and significant others, DRUGS and SEX. Did Jane participate in the Wild King nights? Yes. Did Mr. Combs' other girlfriends participate in the Wild King nights? Not that I'm aware of. Who called them Wild King nights? KK. I just say he's going to the hotel. Now, Brendan said for some reason Christina Corum really didn't want him being involved in the Wild King nights, but he still would clean up while he worked for Combs. Now, the jury saw an iPhone note that was a schedule for February 2023 that Paul said Corum created. Now, the schedule was for the time around Jane's visit to Miami to see Combs for her birthday. The schedule says be ready for Wild King nights at her hotel, and most likely Wild King Day continued at the hotel for the following day. Mr. Combs stopped using hotels and moved them to his residences, right? Yes, after the Cassie lawsuit. What did you do? Clean up after? What does this say? That Jane was coming in. Brendan is setting it up. Wild King nights probable. Where did you make the reservation? No, boo. Where was the Wild King nights? Jane's residence. I wrote running a Walmart for them. KK asked, Wild King mode active or Gucci bag active? What did you say? Between the two. How did you know what to buy for Mr. Combs' Wild King nights? We had a shared document in the notes apps. Who was responsible for the Astroglide? The property manager. I didn't think the 200 South Mapleton manager was good. So photo. I took the photo to show the manager how to lay out the Astroglide in the bathroom. He said the assistant shared a list that included all the items needed to set up those nights, and Paul said he often obtained supplies through Combs' property manager. He said if he paid for supplies with his personal credit card, he was reimbursed through Combs' financial personnel. Paul said he once provided Combs with $5,000 cash before Wild King nights and said he got the cash from security. He testified that another assistant told him he once left cash in an envelope at the front desk of the hotel. How'd you put in for the cash? Robin or Trister? Did Mr. Combs contact you for Wild King nights? Yes, by voice notes or FaceTime. So the jury saw pictures from a SEX shop that Paul sent to Combs. Paul testified that Combs had asked him to run to the store while he was with Jane, but Combs never responded after Paul sent him the pictures of the outfit. How did you clean up after? I wore gloves. Why? Sanitary reasons. Now, Paul testified that these rooms were in such disarray that he would put towels and sheets into a pile and throw empty bottles of baby oil and liquor out. One time, Paul said he saw white powder that he believed to be DRUG residue. Now, the jury saw a photo of a hotel room with sheets covering the furniture. Paul testified that he sent the photo to Combs' travel manager to give her a heads up that there might be some damage charge. Is this a photo of the day of your arrest? Yes, March 25th, 2024, a rented jet. The cocaine you were arrested with, was it Mr. Combs's? Brian Steele says, objection. Sustained. Was it yours? No. Was it Mr. Combs's? Objection. Overruled. Mr. Combs. Now, the jury saw a selfie of Sean P. Diddy Combs, his former chief of staff, Christina Coram, and his former assistant, Brendan Paul, on a private jet taken on March 25, 2024, before Paul was arrested for cocaine possession at the Miami Opa-locka Executive Airport. They were about to take off on a flight to the Bahamas for a vacation with Combs' family. Paul confirmed his arrest was a small amount of cocaine for Combs' personal use that Paul had accidentally left in his travel bag. Neither Combs nor Chief of Staff Christina Coram asked him to travel with the cocaine, Paul testified. Paul recalled telling law enforcement that everything in the bag was his, and then his heart dropped when the agent pulled the cocaine out of the bag because he didn't mean to travel with it. Now, Paul testified that he hadn't seen or spoken to Combs basically since the photo was taken. Paul didn't tell law enforcement that the cocaine wasn't his that day. When asked why, he said loyalty. Paul testified that the charges against him related to the incident were dropped because I have a really good lawyer. What did you do after your arrest? A diversion program, DRUG treatment. No further questions. Judge says cross. Mr. Steele says you walked up to play basketball at Syracuse for an iconic coach? Yes. You played UNC, but COVID ended it, right? Yes. You weren't just a DRUG mule, were you? Objection. Overruled. I was not just that. It was a minor part of what you did. Absolutely. Personal use. Rephrase, says the judge. The hotel nights were more personal. Objection. Rephrase, says the judge. It was Mr. Combs and Jane. Relaxation, personal, right? From your observation? Yes. Did you see Jane as hesitant? I did not. If you saw non-consensual activity, you would not have worked there, right? Objection. Sustained. You would not have worked for a criminal, would you? No. You care about your reputation? Yes. You were arrested for 27 grams, barely personal use. It was a mistake, right? Yes. The case was dismissed? Yes. Did DRUGS make Sean more focused? He got extremely creative. As you sit here today, are you indebted to Sean Combs? Good experiences for the most part. No further questions. Prosecution says sidebar before we redirect. Judge says yes. Okay, so they're back from sidebar. Prosecution says, did you know what was happening in the Wild King nights? Steele says objection. Judge says rephrase. Were you there? No. What did you think the $5,000 was for? Objection. Sustained. Did you give Mr. Combs $5,000 cash in another context? No. You said you wouldn't work for a criminal, but you brought drugs for Mr. Combs? Yes, more than 5 times, but less than 10. How do you feel about Mr. Combs? It's complicated. Okay, Your Honor, no further questions. No recross, Steele says. Thank you. You may go, Mr. Paul. Mr. Brendan Paul leaves. Government may call its next witness, says judge. First, some exhibits, says prosecution. Reading text between Combs and KK, April 25th, 2023. Combs says, I can't take it no more. Album not done. KK says, you can have release after the studio. We control our energy. Combs says, whatever, get me frank. Prosecution says, play the audio message by Mr. Combs. Combs says, have Jonathan to do it. Ms. Coram replies, John will go to the hotel. Prosecution says, we have a bit more, then we request a break. Judge says, okay. A message is shown on the screen involving Veronica Banks, then taken down. Prosecution is reading. Miss Ventura says, you bashed my head in. Combs says, you're crazy. Stop talking. Flipping on me for what? We're taking a break. Ventura says, I don't want to be beaten down for standing up or ever. Combs says, I try to figure out how to get this nut out. Prosecution is still reading. No witness on the stand. Miss Ventura says, all I wanted was to have a good time. You took all of your anger out on me as per usual. You dragged me down the hall by my hair. This is not play fighting anymore. I was serious about Rita coming over. Boris had to tackle you. Puff, that's not love. That's possession. I have bleeding cuts. Combs says to Ventura, I'm not going to let anyone shit on me when all I've done is to try to be nice. You don't treat me like the king. You act like I'm a bitch. Ventura says to Combs, talk to your people and they'll tell you or they won't. Since all they do is SUCKU, I asked to have my record come out after 1,000,000 years. Garrigo says, I would like to read other portions of those exhibits. Johnson says, may I refer with Miss Garrigos? Judge says, of course. Garrigo says, we need a break. Judge says okay, and we go to break. Now with the jury out, Garrigo says we want to read the next page. Ms. Ventura saying, I love our freak-offs when we both want them. Judge says they're in evidence, but for some reason we are just reading these to the jury. There was no objection by the defense. Garrigo says this leaves a prejudicial impression with the jury. Judge continues, what's your basis for what you want to do? We didn't know they were going to read our portions. Judge says, you just want to read the 4 messages? Yes, says Garrigo. I think it's fair for the defense to read the 4 messages, says the judge. Prosecution says, I didn't intend to be misleading, so if your court is saying that these 4 messages should be read, I should be the one to read them. Judge says, fine, now we'll break. Now they're officially on a break. Break time is over and the jury re-enters. Prosecution says, let me read again. I had read the wrong version. Miss Ventura to Mr. Combs, you want to party and have a good time? I have to focus or I'll never become anything. You treat me like I'm a hooker for 10 years. I love our freak-offs when we want it. Then the government calls Joseph Cerciello of Homeland Investigation of over 18 years. How many records have you reviewed for the charts in this trial? Thousands. What is the only female's name in this chart? Jane. Turn off the public screens, prosecution says. What's the name of the hotel? One Hotel, South Beach, Field Pines, May 22nd through the 23rd, 2021. $3,050.90 for one night. And this flight, Jane by JetBlue from New York to Miami. With the public screens off, play the Instagram videos. Loud music is playing. Does the metadata match up? Yes. What's the name? Jessica Ruiz, Mr. Combs' travel agent. What was the charges for the losses and damages? $6,000. Who flew on this one? Jane and Cabral. Jane from Miami to LA to Miami. And Cabral, Atlanta. Now, while the prosecution and Cerciello go back and forth about exhibits that are not being shown to the public, here's one Jane message from prosecutor just belatedly made available. Okay, and what is this? Hotel damage report at Linden Hotel from room 229. The report says bodily fluid spread on the floor. Pictures attached as evidence. Names column, Jane, Reggie, Paul, Combs, and Cabral. And these between Paul, Arthur, and Combs, then Jane. Okay, Arthur Fitness LLC, an ATM cash deposit of $900, then $600. And this, more hotel damages. Fahim's cell phone was seized. Yes. Your Honor, take that one down. Public couldn't see it anyway. Can we please have a sidebar? Take it down. And yes. Okay, so while they're on sidebar, there is another text message of Jane that pops up. This one, she says, I'm crying. I'm so triggered by this, but it's too close to some nights. I felt forced. Please stop drugging and using women for your fetish nights. It creates demons inside of us and real trauma to women who are only doing it to please you. Let the pain on the other women stop with me. Leave women alone who don't want to do those nights with you. Hire prostitutes and stop emotionally harming women that love you. The next one says, you want to have me SUCK some DICK so you could jet off on an island with Gina or Young and have me do dirty shit in hotel room after hotel room. Okay, so now they're back from break, but they're due to go back again in another 3 minutes. Prosecution says, did Jonathan Perez send this to Fahim? Yes. And this is about Anton. Is it sorted by date? Please sort it, Miss Becker. Okay, so who sends this message? KK. What does Jonathan write to Fahim? He says, I don't know if you're holding $10,000. Fa said, trying to get some more now. And this, June 20th, 2024, a year ago today. Your Honor, I think it's a good stopping place since we're ending early today. Judge says, jurors, you may leave. Don't read anything. All right. Then judge says, Miss Comey, how many more on direct? Comey says to midday on Monday. I hope Miss Garrigos can finish cross by the end of the day on Monday. Judge says, then Rule 29. Mr. Ignifilo says, we'll be on the shorter side. We'll tell the government over the weekend. If the government rests at the end of Monday, I think we'll rest Tuesday or Wednesday. Judge says, I'll send the proposed charges today. You send edits Tuesday evening. We could do a charge conference on Wednesday and closing on Thursday. Judge says, you can use the courtroom until 2:30. Mr. Donaldson, if needed, put in a written application. That was a lot, but it seems like we're finally nearing the end of the road. What I need to do is hear from you. What do you think about everything going on in the crazy world of Diddy? Leave a comment. How do you think this case is going so far? You know how we do. We'll talk about it down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching, but before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of my new episodes.